It's like they've been huge, and they are clearly from the sales on the wane here. They've gone from 5.8 to 5.3 to 2 to now we're at 1. And it's like, if you are them, you're like, shit, guys, we need another hit. And so they're, to me, in this record, and I bought this record when it came out. I was 19 years old. I was still keen into it. This was the last time I fucked with this band, you know, until now.
Me too.
Let's raw dog this intro. This is 2026 eventually.
Somehow, do you know how, like, no.
Let's cut a promo. We're joined in the studio by Rick Bruce again. He who was here this time last year to do
almost exactly this time last year.
Our Black Sabbath epic. And Rick's a bit of an aficionado of the wrestling as well. He knows how to cut a promo hit. So how about you guys?
I told you a year ago that I would come back for my title. This time, Daddy, you laid hard time. I'm not going to talk like
you didn't listen, but I'm telling you. Who's bigger than Black Sabbath? Are this week's band bigger than Black Sabbath?
I think they are. To a certain generation of individuals, they almost certainly are.
Yeah, I think. I mean, they couldn't have done the end of the end of the end big show at Villa Park, or could they? How big will the end Green Day show be?
I don't think either of them are married to a praying mantis. Do you think Sharon Osbourne looks like a praying mantis?
I was like, total non sequitur for a second there.
Yeah. No, I got it straight away. I didn't get the reference.
It does make sense.
But yeah, I mean, I guess when Green Day do that, it'll be at like the 49ers Stadium or something like that. They're San Francisco.
Oakland.
Oh, Raiders.
Yeah.
No, the Raiders are in Las Vegas.
That was a long time ago, wasn't it?
They left Oakland, went to LA, then went back to Oakland, and now they're in Las Vegas.
Vegas?
They are, yeah.
They're the Las Vegas. And the Rams are back in LA.
So
that's a weird system.
Fun fact. Billy, when they moved to Las Vegas, Billy Joe Armstrong was not impressed, and I think he slagged them on stage. And then every single radio station banned playing Green Day for a while because of it.
Imagine that, like, teams like Arsenal and Rangers and that could just jump cities, man.
Well, you know, it's different in America, isn't it? Like, people don't even. A lot of folk don't even.
Officially different in America.
Folk
that
don't
is
even follow.
Understatement of the year for 2026. Can I just say it is different in America?
A lot of folk don't even follow like teams. You follow players. You know, like, and that's just the thing. I can't imagine. I don't really like sports anyway, but
nerd
sports.
So the thing with American football is ultimately it's like, if you're old enough, it's just like owning your own Subway sandwich shop. It's a franchise.
It's a franchise, yeah.
And you'll just bet.
Pretty
Like
much.
it's the same. Like, I don't know why we're talking about American football now, but like the Chargers now play in LA. They were in San Diego. But the guy who owns them, you know, has plenty of money. And you know, he's went to Creative Scotland for a grant. He's a new stadium.
They're handing out quite a bit of cash as well, yeah.
Even though I can build my own stadium, but I need help, and they're like, no. He's like, oh well, I'll just take the team away.
I guess it does make sense to talk about American football, as much as that's a bit of an unusual sidebar for us, because this week's band, as I gave away, are Green Day, and they're about to play the Super Bowl. Are they playing the opening of it though?
I believe so. It's Bad Bunny's the halftime end.
And I was going to say the reason for that is surely because they don't want Green Day propagandizing against Donald Trump and his busy hands.
Aye, but
but Bad Bunny's going to do that as well.
All the MAGA lot are like absolutely apoplectic about the fact that somebody that does not sing in English is fucking headlining the Super Bowl. You know what I mean?
It's an interesting move because both of those acts are quite outspoken against the current regime, and yeah, that's kind of the ultimate Americana, you know, with bald-headed eagles flying overhead.
Can I just say, you're so professional, Chris.
Thank you.
Really good.
I've been at this a long time.
What I was going to say was, you know, you were talking about Green Day's End of the End. It'll just be young blood feasting.
It will be just young blood.
It'll just be young blood feasting on them. Young blood
the future
taking the last nutrients. I am punk rock too. I have devoured the soul of metal, and now I will take your punk rock.
He'll be 70 years old and look exactly like fucking Iggy Pop.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
And Sharon Osbourne will still be alive.
And Green Day have been on an Iggy Pop album, I believe.
Have they?
Yeah. Yeah.
Unsurprising. They've done a
Yeah.
lot.
So that's who we're talking about. And, they said it couldn't be done.
They said it couldn't be done.
They said you couldn't get Green Day into the context of the Unsung podcast. And we were like...
It remains to be seen.
We were like, Hodma... What is that?
Cappuccino.
Hodma cappuccino. So we've done it. We're going to talk about... We're going to see if we've done it. We've done something. We're doing something, and it's not sharting ourselves live in a press conference. A bit more contemporary references there.
Urban Dictionary, the word shart.
Anyway, Green Day, the band. That's what we're going to talk about this week. Before we get to that, this is a podcast. It's been going for a long time. We're old. I wouldn't say we're much wiser, but we're poorer. You can subscribe to the podcast. We would appreciate that. Just go for the minimum tier.
Yep.
It just means you get access to the bonus material and you get invited to the group. Although I am increasingly going off the idea of that being on Facebook. As much as we've always hated that, I think, I really hate it now.
I've waxed lyrical quite a lot about how Meta are just the worst fucking company in the world.
Oh man,
it's still true.
I literally just finished a book by a whistleblower on Facebook, and it's very hard to justify sending anybody in the direction of the AAA group now.
Yeah, man.
But you
said this before.
we persevere. But Mark, how can people subscribe to the podcast?
Patreon.com/unsungpod. That's where you can go and get access to our Facebook group. Facebook group is one of the things.
Yeah, to be clear, the Facebook group, the redeeming feature of it is you get kind of pretty direct interaction, and we've taken suggestions for episodes on that group. So if you're listening and you're like, oh, hey, they should cover such and such band, assuming we've not already, then we're totally up for that. We're totally up for interacting and chatting and getting suggestions of cool albums. That stuff happens all the time. So consider that. We will try and migrate that group to somewhere less horrendous.
It's probably going to be Discord, but we'll talk about it
as soon as we can. But the other bonuses are like the back catalogue of rare episodes and stuff. There's some funny stuff on that, and so
maybe some more written stuff. We've already got a couple which we've done.
Mark
with
vlogged last week about his. Mark is listening to a new album a day every day.
All right, yeah,
at least.
What if you? My friend tried.
At
my friend did that. Steve did that last year. He listens to a new one every day.
Yeah, I tried it last year and kind of got me unemployed, and then it kind of failed in October. But I still gave it a good go in October, November, December though.
How many 100 new albums did you listen to?
Christ, I can't even remember.
It was a lot.
Yeah, I listened to 39 last month, and Green Day were a big part of that because I've got a lot of fucking records. But yeah, I've found a couple of things I really like.
What do you like?
Red Cross.
Oh, yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah.
Early or late?
Late. Power
Right.
pop.
All right, sorry, I'm still bad at these things.
Try to subtly suggest that Rick gets close to the microphone.
I've also created a continuity error by taking my shirt off, so we're all fucked here.
I'll go out and shave and come back in.
Oh man, I would pay to see that. By the way,
so
I've known this guy since I was 16 and or 17, and I've never.
That makes me sound really seedy.
It's still legal.
That's true.
So you're not. It's not very popular. But
Clan of Zymox is another one.
All right, yeah, that's it. Bring it back.
And
my point was, I've never seen him with a bald chin.
Yeah.
I just interrupt him.
Yeah.
It's all about you, Chris. That's fine.
Fucking we're crossing the streams here. So it's been an interesting endeavour so far, and I'm really looking forward to doing. And it was actually good to write about it as well.
Yeah.
I believe you're starting to buckle on the subject of post-punk.
What do I talk about
Only
right now?
8.5 years, but he's starting to come round.
It'd take two. We've a whole episode on that probably somewhere down the line. But no, it's been cool to do that, and power pop's becoming a thing. Green Day have actually kind of helped grease the wheel a little bit there because they've got quite a lot of that in it, which I've come to kind of realise through
very much so
extracurricular listening as well as curricular listening. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, should we talk a little bit about like the world's biggest fucking punk rock band?
Yeah, I mean, so
yes.
I mean, as I say, they said it couldn't be done, and they barely need an introduction because they are so fucking huge. But we'll do some of that. Green Day first got together in 1987. That is 39 fucking years ago. They're from Rodeo in the Bay Area of San Francisco. They originally called themselves Sweet Children. They are the epitome of pop punk, especially in that sort of simple trio format that we often think of. And they emerged from a scene around a place called 924 Gilman Street or 924 Gilman Street as a venue. Rick, maybe you can shed a wee bit of context on that, because I mean, I associate it with bands like Operation Ivy, but I'm sure you know a bit more.
Well, I don't actually, but Gilman's like one of the most famous venues in San Francisco. Like Neurosis have played there. Like, it's not just punk bands. It's not just like your Green Days and stuff. Everybody kind of plays there. That's the venue to play. It's very
Is it still there?
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
There's actually, see if you on the Wikipedia page, there's actually I think it's on one of the albums for like the first record. There's a flyer on each Neurosis headlining with Green Day supporting.
Yeah.
I've seen that. Yeah.
It's those kind of. I think
Crazy.
I do believe it is all ages, and it's very much no homophobia, no sexism, all that kind of. It's always been that kind of way. So.
Yeah, it was quite a political, progressive venue in the day. It'd be an amazing place to play, wouldn't it? Especially for a man of your proclivities.
I'd
I mean that because of the music, not because of all ages.
just because. Thanks again.
That's a very zeitgeist theme.
It'd be good. It'd be good to play San Francisco. I've played it. Have played in America, but it was the other side.
Not the
East Coast.
I showed my
East Coast.
directional skills. We did the other side and
East Coast.
Yeah.
east in the middle.
Yeah.
We kind of did. So we
It's,
never got to San Francisco.
Green Day famously banned from the venue after Dookie came out.
Really?
Yeah.
Because they weren't punk enough.
Sold out, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll get to that. And indeed, yeah, we can debate their punk credentials in a while. I do have a bit on that, but I think we can probably start by trying to. I don't want to just, you've said like power pop and punk rock and pop punk and all that kind of stuff. Maybe we can just actually gain a bit of insight into what they actually sound like via their influences. That's a good kind of foot in the door. And Rick, I know you obviously know a lot about a lot of these things. First one that comes up is Hüsker.
Yep.
Billy Joe Armstrong repeatedly said it was one of his biggest early influences. And obviously the kind of harder edge of. He's clearly got a big ear for pop music, right? But Hüsker were also quite an aggressive band. You hear a lot of that in it?
Yeah, I did actually. Listening back through everything, I was a bit like, oh yeah, there's Hüsker bit, and something I never noticed because I'm not really a massive fan of the Replacements.
They're the second on the list. Yeah.
And then
I'm becoming a Matt's fan because of this fucking stupid project.
I
I'm
I
doing.
think he became
Then,
he became quite good friends with Paul Westerberg.
yeah. And then later on, like we'll get to the albums, but kind of like around maybe Warning, maybe even Nimrod, you could hear like Elvis Costello.
Yep.
He's a huge fan of Elvis Costello.
That
You can
kinda-
totally hear that, man.
yeah.
Totally hear that.
The like song that I'll just mention it, Church and Sunday.
Yep, totally. an
Church and
Elvis Costello
Sunday is
song.
like that's an Elvis Costello song,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and there's bits of that. So you can certainly Hüsker do, and then you've got your Ramones and Clash.
Yep.
That kind of Operation Ivy as well.
Operation
Yeah,
Ivy,
yeah.
yeah,
Hear
big
the-
part of the East Bay scene.
Probably Squeeze, the
Yeah,
Sweet, the Knack.
So he's a big fan of or
Like
the
the
band.
Nerves, that
They're
kind of stuff.
They're a big fan of the
Stray
Who.
Cats.
I think Trey Cool in particular, his drumming style was very influenced by the Who. They've obviously got a pretty famous cover of My Generation at the end of Kerplunk.
I can explain this. I was literally just told the story this afternoon. So Al, who's in Coffin Mulch with me, used to work in Missing.
Yep.
In Old Missing, and one day he was working. This guy comes in.
In the original location.
Yeah, I think one of the original ones. I can't remember the exact location, but a guy comes in.
Record store in Glasgow. By the
Yeah,
way,
It's
for
a
yeah.
fun.
franchise that moves around Glasgow like an American
Yeah,
football
so this
team.
is so it's up well, and he's like, guy comes in, he's looking through some 7-inches, and he's like, oh, can I have a look through those? He's like, blah blah blah. They get talking. Well, it turns out the guy's he's American. What are you doing here? He's like, oh, I'm playing a gig. He's like, where are you playing? Oh, the SECC. He's like, who? Yeah, and he's like, oh, I'm in Green Day, and it was Mike Dunn, and he bought a bunch of Who records.
Are they?
Nice,
Okay.
nice.
And weirdly enough, we had Trey Cool having dinner
You
in,
did,
in
that's
my
right,
venue
yeah. Mhm.
last year, 2 years ago.
He's, for what it was worth, he said he was really, really nice.
Yeah, well, apparently Trey Cool was very nice as well and tipped very generously.
The
to
people
stuff.
of Blink-182 do not agree
No.
with that assessment.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well, interesting.
We'll
'cause
get,
they
when we talk
seem-
about Warning,
They
we can
seem
get into
so
that.
rational. Anyway,
It's actually quite a funny story. There's a book. It's in Mark Hobbs's book, but there's also an article about it. It's actually quite funny.
I'm
we'll
not
get to it.
sure that
We'll get
Blink-182
to it.
have the monopoly on like believable accounts of things.
Well,
So anyway, I cut another couple of names that I think you can hear in their music: Bad Religion and Social Distortion.
yeah.
I think they covered Another State of Mind by Social Distortion at one point. And Bad Religion, to be fair, the guys in Bad Religion who I think are more authentically punk in the sense that fewer people question their credentials, speak quite positively of Green Day. Maybe talk about that.
There's a SoCal band as well, just like the other band you mentioned, apart from not Up Ivy, the other one you said before that. You literally just said their name and it's
Neurosis?
no, it just escaped me.
Slayer.
Why? Bad Religion, Social Distortion,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's probably links as well. You've got like Agent Orange, TSOL, Descendants.
Descendants, yeah.
You know,
They were apparently big fans of Jawbreaker as well.
Mhm.
There's a compilation called Turn It Around that came out in Maximum Rock and Roll, which documented a lot of the early Gilman street punk bands, and it's kind of cited by Billy Joe Armstrong as a record that really influenced them. They also talk about another East Bay band that I think didn't quite make the transition over here, but they're called Crimpshrine. Crimpshrine. Yeah, has been a really big part of where the sound came from. And yeah, as you said, some of the older names like the Kinks and Cheap Trick are bands that they've referenced a lot. Elvis Costello, yes. Bad Brains are a band that they were really, really into. And then Dead Kennedys, DOA, early punk rock is kind of how they got into it. So yeah, the timeline of Green Day, we'll kind of like, we'll combine like the band's history and the band's discography, because we don't want to dwell too much on it, but I do think we have to kind of like run through it, and then we'll come back to a wee bit more of a detailed discussion on Insomniac, which is the album I have. But I think I put this one forward. There was a bit of debate over what we could do, because with Green Day, as you'll hear, I feel very fondly towards Kerplunk, which is a great record, and I think had they never done Dookie, Kerplunk is one of those albums that I think, first of all, we might not know about it, but it would be revered by the people that had it and the people, the knowing people on the inside of that scene. I'm trying to think actually of an album that's analogous to Kerplunk by a band who never had a Dookie. You know, do you know what I'm getting at? So think about like a scene album that is beloved and the band never had that huge commercial breakthrough.
I suppose maybe 24 Hour Revenge Therapy by Jawbreaker, that was their big album, but it wasn't a big album compared to their contemporaries, the Offspring, Green Day, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and you've got albums by the likes of Braid and stuff like that as well that were like big in their scene, but the band just never had a huge commercial breakthrough. And you can imagine how had they had a really big breakthrough, maybe At the Drive-In's a good example, right? Because In Casino Out became really popular only after Relationship of Command. So, and that's clearly not even remotely on the level of Green Day that we're talking about. But anyway, we'll go through. Kerplunk was a contender for me. I actually think Nimrod is an interesting conversation as well.
So all the people that I know that like Green Day pretty much had, like, they were either like Kerplunk or Insomniac, which is the one that you would maybe call Unsung. Some said that Nimrod is probably too heavy, not in sense of sonically, but it's just got too much on it, and that becomes a feature, not a bug of Green Day as things move forward. But like, for example, Craig, friend of the pod, Insomniac, Jason, also friend of the pod, Green Day, one of his favourite bands. He says Kerplunk, like it's going to be the one all day long.
I mean, I think Insomniac, Nimrod sold 5.3 million copies. So had we chosen that, it would be potentially the biggest album we've ever chosen. But indeed, we've chosen Insomniac, which sold 5.8.
Yeah.
So this now becomes, I think it takes over from Nine Inch Nails as the biggest selling record with...
Nine Inch Nails must have sold more than that over the course of time.
No, I don't. The Downward Spiral, I think, was like 2.9 million or something like that. Maybe you can check the facts. We don't have a producer, unfortunately, as we were talking about this earlier on. No. But the point is, I think that there's actually, given it's all relative, right? You're talking about why are you covering Green Day, right? Because they did Dookie, and in the shadow of Dookie, it was such a mammoth record. It's a bit like Nirvana doing Nevermind. You know, you're in the shadow of such a big record, and then you do something that sort of pushes back against the hostility that you met from the scene, and sort of also rejects a wee bit of the fame by trying to make something that's a bit harder to digest. Not that it's mega hard to digest, but relatively it is. I stand by Insomniac, I think. But we'll talk about that in more detail. Yeah. But that's why it's in here.
As far as Unsung went, until I listened to everything, if you'd said to me, what's the oddest one, that's not the one I would pick anymore.
No.
That's
what was your gut reaction?
The one when I listened to the Insomniac was, well, because I stop at a certain point. Insomniac was the one for me because I remember that coming out and folk being a bit like,
Yeah.
But listening to everything, it was, is it the Father of All Motherfuckers?
No way.
That doesn't sound like a Green Day record.
It doesn't. Yeah.
So if somebody said to me, "Oh, what's the most unsung one?" If you were to say like, I've listened to that, I liked. We'll get to it, but I was like, yeah, I see what that sounds like.
This is such a twist because Mark, I teased before this that you were like, "Oh, they've not released anything good in 15 years." I was like, "Actually, they have," and that's the one.
You guys are fucking delusional, man.
I never said it was good.
It's shit. It's the worst thing they've done.
It's.
I actually think it's quite good.
It's enjoyable.
You know,
I listened to it and I was like, but see after like what album is, we'll get like, it's like number 12.
Revolution Radio.
Aye, but we'll get the number that one comes in after a line of just like, you know, it's just like, I obviously love ice cream. Look at the size. Man. See, after 12 bowls of ice cream, somebody went, "You want a salted pretzel?" You'd be like, "Oh man, yes, I want a salted pretzel. I just want something." And like, so that's like,
What a beautiful, simple analogy that
it's
actually
like-
perfectly summarises.
it's like this, but it is out of the lineup. It's the weird one.
It's horrible.
It's so.
It's weird. Like, I listed it as like, and I was talking to the guys in my other band. I was like, "Any of you ever heard this?" They're like,
Moonshine Docs, by the way.
Moonshine, oh
folks.
yeah, Moonshine Dogs.
Genuine card carrying punk rock.
Genuine card carrying old men.
Vimto Core.
Vimto Core.
Vimto
We love
Core.
Vimto. Vimto, if you're listening, please send us lots of Vimto. Like, none of them had heard it as well, and I played it, and I was just like, "Oh, that's kind of
Okay.
weird."
Mark, you're
We're getting ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah, there's something's going to stick in your craw later on.
I've stubbed the pot already.
Let's go through this
Fine.
timeline, right? Because I've teased it a few times. Right, 1972, both Billy Joe Armstrong and Mike Dirnt were born.
Or
in
born.
born in California.
We're starting from when they were born.
Let's go through the Vietnam War and the messy ending. But they formed a band called Sweet Children in 1987. They met in elementary school. They formed a band Sweet Children. In 1988, the drummer John Kiffmeyer, who was credited as Al Sobrante on the various recordings that he was on, joins. The band began playing regularly at 924 Gilman Street, which was a key venue and got them on the map. 1989, they changed their name to Green Day, and they released a debut EP called, is it 1,000 Hours, the first one?
Yes.
Right, and I have to say, I think this is a particularly good EP. Like,
I mean,
it's an EP, first of all, where they play solos on it and show that they're actually fucking like, Billy Joe has some killer guitar chops.
at that age.
He plays,
Yeah.
he plays like the guitarist from the Knack.
Mhm.
I think they've actually spoken a lot about. We threw some names about just a few minutes ago, but like that kind of music, that kind of power pop, accessible stuff, but with that hint of like 70s rock, Thin Lizzy kind of influence going on there. They clearly love that stuff, and on that EP, they are excellent at it. Now, the songs from that EP will reappear shortly. We'll explain why. 1990, they released a debut studio album, which is called 39 Smooth. That's on Lookout Records, very cool label at the time. Trey joins temporarily as cover when John Al Sobrante goes to university. They release a follow-up EP called Slappy, another one called Sweet Children, and the reputation kind of gains a bit of momentum.
Can I just add something in here?
Yep,
Have you seen the video on YouTube of them playing high school in 1990?
Yeah.
I've not seen that
It's
one.
unbelievable.
I've seen videos of them playing at Gilman Street.
Is it as good as the video? Have you seen? It's a total side effect. You know, there's the black metal band from Finland called Banter.
No.
There's a video of them playing outside the shopping centre. It's like the same age as Green Day were, but they've not got corpse paint. They're just like a bunch of kids, and they're rocking outside the shopping centre.
That's
in
pretty
Finland.
cool. But like, it is unbelievable how
Yeah.
good this band are
Yeah.
at this age. It's pretty special.
Well, that's
honestly.
also like a consequence sometimes of playing in scenes like this Gilman Street thing. Like when you play in a scene that's full of like really talented bands, you're forced to up your level. Goodness knows, Rick, we know that from Stirling, don't
Yeah.
we?
Well, no, I think that's the thing. I think that's something I've having gone through being in bands for a long time, Scottish bands, Scottish scene. I've ventured down to England. You know,
International shows,
I've,
you know?
I've played international shows, and I think there's a certain element of. I might be people might get angry, but in Scotland, you're almost afraid to be good because it's a Scottish thing. Who the fuck do you think you are? Where I mean, playing in a hardcore band, played with English bands, and they were fucking tight and they were practiced. It's maybe not so much now, but back I was like, man, we're just like pints, and it's like you'd play with a band and like, oh man, I'm embarrassed. Or you'd go to a gig and like Scottish bands would be like, ooh, and then this English band or an American band or a Scandinavian band would turn up and they're just like good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a very American thing. If you look, just the country as a whole, it's about excellence, but like it's not. It's good to be good. It's take pride in yourself. It's not being shite.
You drill it.
Yeah, you get better at playing guitar. You can start off the whole thing like punk rock. Anybody can do it, but do you choose to stagnate or like? Well, inevitably, if I decide to start baking bread tomorrow, if I'm still making the same loaf 2 years later, I should maybe stop. Or if I've not progressed, I can.
That's kind of interesting, right? Because that is the flip side of what's often seen as a very positive trait, not just of Scotland, but particularly of Glasgow, right? So we've maybe mentioned this before, how celebrities particularly like Glasgow because there's an unpretentiousness, right? People let you go on about your business, but there's also a sort of pervasive sense of like, you're no better than me.
Yeah,
so
that's
people don't like to sort of give deference to celebrities here, and so as a result, they feel very normal. There's, according to many accounts that I've read, including like people like Scarlett Johansson, people like really proper top celebrities, right, that are like, yeah, it's one of the first places I felt normal again, because people try not to make a scene, they try not to make you feel like you're better than them. But on the flip of that, if you're seen as trying too hard, or you're taking that very seriously, you know, it's kind of true of like football, it's kind of true of music, it's kind of true of a lot of things. Like, if you're very, very, very engaged in it, it's maybe seen as being a bit uncool.
Yeah,
like,
that's totally true. Like,
Yeah.
the amount of times that you see bands who are like, you can tell they're put money into like production. Like wee bands that put money into production, they've got like maybe brought some lights, you know, or they've got like in-ears. Speaking for myself there.
In-ears.
But
fucking wank.
But it really,
that's
it really
it.
fucking helps, man.
Yeah.
But like,
But that's that's actually characterising the attitude of like, oh, look at these guys, they've got, oh, look at that guitar, that's expensive. Or who do they think they are? It's like, well, no, they're just trying to be serious about it.
like we've been called out a couple of times on stage for having in-ears. There's just made a comment about it, and I'm just like, what?
Was it me?
It wasn't you, but it's like, you know, like
Sorry, I do have a loud voice.
there is this whole idea of like, no, you're right. Like, it's, you don't want to see people doing too well, but
Yeah.
I guess in a way of like wanting to have pride in the thing that you're doing.
yeah.
You know,
And yeah, it's an interesting and nuanced picture of a kind of national identity that goes to like, who do you think you are? And in some cases, that seems to have positive ramifications when it comes to like not putting people on a pedestal. But in other ways, and I think you may be onto something here. Yeah, in musical sense. I mean, I remember reading about Nirvana in their early days, and they rehearsed every night. Do you know any band that rehearses every night?
that just seems horrible, honestly.
No, but I mean,
Yeah.
like Dave Grohl used
Yeah.
to work and then drive. Like he commuted for 2 hours every single night to rehearse, and that band rehearsed every night before they got signed. I don't know a single band in my lifetime that has rehearsed every night. And the thing is, for us, that would be preposterous. And it's like, well, I'm sure Nirvana are not the only band that did that. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of commitment to it and that determination to be good. And they're hardly the most, you know, orthodox sort of like, you know, fucking Cobain was shooting up heroin in between doing this stuff, you
Yeah.
know, but they were serious about their craft. And yeah, there is. And when you see, I've not seen the school one that you're talking about, but some of the early videos of Green Day, like Gilman Street, you're like, holy shit. Reminds me a wee bit of Cave-In as well. Cave-In were a band that at the age of 15 were unbelievable, like phenomenal band. And you're like, I just can't relate to that level of...
It's like that kind of thing. Not take it away. Like if you look at like I'll put black metal, like the first band Enslaved, their first demo, like they were 15, 16. The first Emperor album, they were 16, 17. Even think about like, and it seems odd to think about it now. If you think about like Ride the Lightning by Metallica, or Cliff Burton was like 22.
Yeah.
He was 22 when he died, and he did Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, and Master of Puppets.
But it's
Like, what have you
incredible.
like? What have you done?
Taught James Hetfield about music.
Yeah.
You know, like that kind of thing. Like,
22.
it's
You know,
insane.
so bringing it back to this, what I think's interesting is that 1,000 Hours EP, when they do have those kind of fairly ripping solos, that disappears from their arsenal. I don't know any other time in their career that even comes to the surface. Now, I've not listened, admittedly, to the solo project, so maybe you can advise me otherwise. But
It's on the long shot for sure. Comes back on that record.
right, well, because in the Green Day canon, from this point on, it is gone. I mean, it is the kind of punk that...
It's not gone. There's some songs, and I have noted them actually throughout the discographies.
Uh-oh.
There are more than one, right? Discography. If you talk about side projects,
Yeah.
but yeah, so like they do come back, but they're not the same. They're definitely not the kind of really showy. They're like more kind of vibey, you know, little 1 string, 2 string things, you know.
So, excuse that sidebar, folks, but...
But otherwise, guitar solos just weren't cool in the 90s.
No, it's true.
You know?
It's true.
Like-
So, but as we said, Al Sobranti, John, went to college. Trey Cole took over temporarily. By 1991, Sobranti had formally left the band, and Trey Cole joined as the full-time, completing that kind of classic lineup. By the way, Trey Cole's dad refurbished a mobile library van for Green Day, and that's what they used to tour and travel to gigs in, a mobile library. To this day, he says he has no idea how the band succeeded.
Again, though, like if you look at that, that's a very American thing. Like, how long have we been in bands, me and you?
Yeah.
I've never owned a van for the band.
Well, I have, but it was also the bane of my life 3
Yeah.
times.
Like America, it's very. Is it a distance thing? Like you get a van.
I think so, yeah.
And
Probably.
like to get out where we was, I can get the record. I'll take my guitar on the train to Glasgow if I had to play. I
driving up
didn't need a van. I didn't need that level of independence or like minor threat. Well, we'll just get in a car and drive to San Francisco for the.
Aye, cool.
Yeah,
That's definitely something that if you're listening to this in the States, this will not be a shock to you. But if you're listening to it in Europe, and especially in the UK, where it's 45 minutes drive to Edinburgh, right? I mean, driving up and down the east and the west
So
coast,
annoying.
it's 6, 7, 8. I mean, I remember the guys from Cavan talking about regularly doing like 10, 12, 14-hour drives just to gigs, and it's just that to us is just that's the south coast of England.
Yeah, that's unfathomable.
That's wild.
I can tell you one thing about the van thing. A band that kind of came into mind when you mentioned it. Malevolence.
yes.
So they were all their jobs before the band became big, but they were like fucking joiners and all that. And Craig, friend of the pod, mentioned him earlier on. His old band, they played a few shows with them down in England a few times, and like they basically did that exact same thing, but they kitted it out themselves. So they built like the bunks in it and all that, put a PS5 in it, places for their gear and shit like that.
A PS5.
Aye, yeah.
That's fucking up to date.
Yeah, so but they built it inside the shell themselves. But they were playing all over Europe and that's why they're so fucking massive now.
Yeah,
because they put it in
incredibly
the
successful.
ground.
Well,
the grind.
actually, I have to say, we did the same.
Mm-hmm.
We got a van, we put wood inside it and a carpet, and then we went round the cities that we played in, and we would take the cards from phone boxes when they were still a thing for like sexy night services, and we would stick them on the inside of the van on the wooden thing. So that's as good as a PS5.
Wow. But it's about intention as well, I think. Maybe in Scotland it's less of a thing, but clearly there are a lot of bands that do it. I can imagine Bleed From Within probably have their own van at this point.
They deserve it.
Yeah.
Whether they don't do or don't have one. So anyway, as I said, all those EPs and that stuff, it all got kind of coalesced into what became 1039 smoothed out slappy hours, which was a kind of re-release of an album compendium, if you will, that came out in 1991. Its first release, it didn't really get any big sales, but obviously retrospectively people get into it. There's tracks like At the Library is a nice wee song. There's some really good stuff. The 16th track in it, Dry Ice, this is where you get into the 1,000 Hours thing.
Pretty good.
Belt and solo in that's one of the ones that sounds like the Knack. It's actually got a very college rock hook in that song. It's not so much punk. It sounds like a US college rock thing, like the Posies or something like that.
I've said it's kind of lo-fi, but it does feel power poppy in the same way that
There's Only of You, another belter with a great wee solo. Paper Lanterns, a pretty well-known track from that album.
That's because it's got that guitar solo on it, which is like a pure ripping.
Yeah, it's not very polished, but it's nice. When you hear it, it feels very relatable. I mean, it's got kind of slappy sort of snare sound and stuff like that, but you can really hear the genesis of the band in it. The songwriting, by the way, in that is really good.
It's very good.
I know, obviously, Green Day end up being Green Day, but for a first release, or for a first full release by any band, it's hugely respectable.
That's a bunch of guys with a vision, young guys with a vision. Going to Pasquale. They still play it live.
Yeah, I like
Passalacqua, is it not?
Passalacqua. I was there.
Pasquale's Joe Pasquale.
Joe Pasquale.
So unless you want to talk like that for the rest of the
They still play it live to this day. It is like that is the blueprint for the Green Day sound. That song,
So 1992, we'll jump up a wee bit here to save time, but they released Kerplunk. Kerplunk is very fondly thought of. This is, like I said, I thought this was a contender here. I think it's around about 1 million copies sold independently, kind of over the years. Key singles on it. Welcome to Paradise makes an appearance here, and it reappears on Dookie.
It's not as good on this though.
2000. Well, some people like this version better, man.
The chorus on the Dookie version is getting more lift, which I think makes the song that bit. Makes it
2000 Light Years Away, great song. Critical reception for this one.
Cracking
really,
song,
really praised. Loads of hooks, loads of urgency, good melodies, big leap forward. I think, as I say, if Green Day had never done Dookie and had never become a big band, this would still be very beloved in kind of underground circles. I don't think it's just looking backwards and sort of Emperor's Clothes thing. I think it's genuinely a very, very strong album.
Two observations I've got for this record, right? One for the Razorbacks has got a guitar solo in it, like a ripping guitar solo.
It's a good song as well.
Christy Road is
a brilliant song, and it's a mature song.
It is, but that song is a blueprint for later Green Day.
Yeah. I also had the same. I was thinking, when you think about what's it? I walk along the street. I can't. Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
Yeah, aye, it does.
The kind of mid-tempo stuff. That's kind of
it's ballady, and it really works. Over the years, it's obviously been reviewed in retrospect, and it does well. 7.5 in Pitchfork, things like that.
It's a good record, like,
I think so.
you know.
Billy Joe Armstrong says it's his favourite. You know, I'm sure he's his favourite.
Why haven't you made another one then?
He did. It was called Father of All Motherfuckers. Shut up.
I think it's it's one of those records when I think the members of the band were kind of living together as well. So it's obviously there's a lot of nostalgia rolled up in it for him as well. Yeah, no, on the back of that, and unsurprisingly, I would suggest, but given that it's the early 90s and Nirvana feeding frenzy is underway, and that did, even though Green Day don't have a hell of a lot in common with Nirvana, they're not so far away that the sheer echoes of everybody getting signed up and that alternative rock feeding frenzy didn't extend to them, and they did. They signed with Reprise Records, which actually caused a lot of controversy in the punk community, as you say, regarding Gilman Street. So in 1994 they released Dookie.
Do you want to see my note for this?
Do I want to see it?
Yeah,
No,
I'll tell you.
I want to hear about it.
It's fucking Dookie. That's all I've written.
It is fucking Dookie. By the way, do you know that Dookie only got to number 2 in the charts? It's not a number 1 record.
Yeah.
No. I
20
will say that. I remember when it was released. Because that's when that's his yeah, I'm talking about Old Man Rollins. Back in my day, so that's the first record of theirs I got. I'm not going to sit and pretend that I was in for the ground. That Dookie was the first one I got because it was reviewed in Kerrang, and I distinctly remember it was reviewed in the same issue as Destroy Old Boy by the New Bomb Turks.
Okay.
All right, okay.
Which, if you've never heard the New Bomb Turks, they're like
Really good.
They are one of the best bands that exist. And they both got 4Ks and they both had good reviews. And I was like, all right. And I was 91, so I'd be 16. So
94, Dookie.
94, so I'd be 19. So yeah, I'd be at college, and it used to go. So do you remember 23rd Precinct?
Yeah.
So that before it was a techno shop, it was punk and metal and.
I heard about that. It was before my
So,
my time.
yeah, so
Unfortunately,
that's where I bought my copy of Dookie.
Nice.
And I'm sure it cost me like £14.
Wow.
And that's like
That's
million,
a lot of money
That's
back
£1
in the
million
day.
pounds in
Yeah.
today's money.
CD
So,
prices have fluctuated. I remember there was a copy of 10 by Pearl Jam at 17 quid that sat in Virgin for about 8 years.
yeah, so I got my copy of Dookie based on that. And it was like a 4K, it wasn't a 5K album. I bought it because it was kind of that. I was kind of starting to listen to that kind of stuff at the time.
Yes, probably as close to a perfect pop punk
so.
album as you could conceivably get. You mentioned Nirvana Feeding Frenzy there. I think it'd be remiss for us not to mention before moving on that this year is, like, apart from the fact Kurt Cobain died, is totally pivotal.
This year's unbelievable for records. Maybe less so for you, Rick, than it is for my particular
They're probably there.
taste.
They're
But
underground, but yeah.
I mean, Super Unknown, In Utero, and that's scratching the surface.
So
like
the pop
Blue,
punk,
Blue album by
yeah.
Weezer, like just an Smashing Pumpkins as well.
When did Dear You come out? Jawbreaker.
That was 96. It was 24-hour Revenge Therapy that came out in 1994.
All right, because Dear You's, not to say, Dear You's the Dookie of, I would say, of.
You think so? It's,
Yeah,
it's a major label record.
That's the one that got the similar reaction to, like, the scene that they were in was just like, oh, fuck you guys.
They got signed to a major because of 24-hour
Yeah,
Revenge
right,
Therapy.
I see.
But this pop punk becomes a thing, and it just
Yeah.
exists in this year. Like the Offspring, you know, NoFX, Rancid,
Absolutely,
all
yeah.
that.
Smash was 94 as well,
Yeah,
wasn't it? Yeah. So near
Huge.
universal acclaim. The critics, I mean, 4K and Kerrang, but it generally was very, very well received. You know, the amazing balance of punk and pop that was in it.
But is it unsung?
Credited with bringing punk into the 90s mainstream, which it basically did by itself. Albeit, I get that Offspring played a big part in that, but I think this is much more like directly responsible for it.
I mean, I wouldn't have said that when I was younger, but having grown older and wiser, this is much more. Blink-182.
This had the MTV penetration that Offspring. I mean, Offspring had some, you know, Gone Away and stuff like that, had videos, but the Basket Case video reached so many people.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, Blink-182 don't exist without Green Day.
Yeah.
The story of is it Jar? So this the bass intro for What's My Age Again is Mark Hoppus trying to play Jar and then ended up writing the song off the back of that.
Right, okay.
So they become a band because of Green Day. They don't become a band because of the Offspring.
So
you know,
it won a Grammy.
But they're not about the same time, because when's Buddha and Cheshire Cat? What year are they? For Blink-182.
Cheshire Cat must have been maybe.
You're talking about, like,
And then if you got, like, sort of,
Dude Ranch sort
like,
of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the first, like, Cheshire Cat and Buddha are before that, and then you'll have, like, your
Well, what the Enema of the State is 1998.
yeah. I'm just trying to
Well,
think.
Dudranch was about 96, wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
So you would have had. I would have thought. I'm not sure of my timelines. I don't know if you can check, but like Cheshire Cat and Buddha, would they not have been around the same time as Kerplunk? And because you'll have had them, and then you'll have Ignition and the first Offspring album.
Aye.
Then you've maybe have like your Pennywise,
Yeah.
Lagwagon,
yeah.
Bad Religion did the
Bad-
Grey State.
Grey Race.
Grey Race, sorry.
Stranger Than Fiction was 1994.
Stranger Than
Stranger Than Fiction was a
So
major
yeah,
label
because they
record.
played across the street from where we are.
Oh, right.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
of
it.
course, the garage.
Played the garage.
Wow.
To quote Green Day, I was there. Rancid.
Aye, of
And-
course.
and
First
Out Come
couple of
the Wolves.
Rancid records.
Out Come
yeah.
the Wolves, yeah.
So, but you'll have had.
Punk and Drublick.
Yeah, but before like, Out Come the Wolves comes out, you've got Rancid and you've got, what's the second one? 'Cause that's the first one I got.
Rancid is the the one with the red cover.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the
With
first one with
the
Lars.
fist on
The
it.
first one with Lars Fredriksson on
Aye,
it.
yeah. What's the name of that record?
It's left my brain, but
This is why we need a producer, Mark. I'm telling you
so
this.
I mean, they were all because they're all contemporaries. I think.
What's the
at that
fucking
time.
Rogan's producer, Jason?
Jason, pull that up.
Jason, pull that up.
So
You've got a Jason?
I've got
What's he doing right now? Fuck all, he could be here.
because like Rancid played at Sleazy's.
Aye.
I say Bad Religion played the Garage that year. Then you have like your lookout bands as well. You'll have Mr. T Experience. You'll have Avail.
Mm-hmm.
Avail, good band.
Pansy Division.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, of course.
I heard them.
Yeah, you never heard Pansy
No.
Division? The gay punk rock band.
No,
like,
never heard
totally
them.
groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
They were
like
they were all
them-
they were
they-
all on the lookout.
So
yeah.
there was like a kind of, this is maybe actually a subject for another episode in future, but you had like them, you had the Living End, and you had this like
I remember the
movement
Living
of,
End,
like,
they're still
gay
going,
kind
yeah.
of gay alternative bands that were
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
So they're saying like
Interesting.
like everybody's first two albums, you've got all these bands. It's like the third record,
Mhm.
Dookie, Offspring was Smash.
Mhm.
Blink-182's. I'm not sure. Don't really own much, but then
I'm not a fan, which is why I couldn't help in that.
like
conversation.
It's
no
quite-
effects.
it's-
Like it seems to be the third.
Rancid.
That's quite an interesting pattern. It's almost like the labels are watching these bands and letting them mature to the point where it's
Yeah.
like, right, they're ready to do like
Yeah.
the big record. Then it's quite interesting.
Mhm.
There isn't that strategy anymore. You know,
Mhm.
there isn't that sense of like coordinated
Mhm.
effort. It's like they either are ready or we'll make them ready, as in we'll
Mhm.
throw in a bunch of producers and writers and help them there. And that's going to come
Mhm.
back shortly.
But like the reason these bands are so tight and so good is because they're on the road fucking constantly as
Mm,
well.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like Green Day are not just one of the biggest bands on earth, but they're probably one of the best bands
Bear
on
in,
earth
bear
as
in
well.
mind, though, Green Day had
Like,
also been a band for, 6 years seriously before that came out, 6 or 7 years.
so if you're a major record label or an A&R guy, you're like, they're just ready.
Mm.
They're,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
we can put them in any size room and it's just going to be great.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
you know.
what, but like thinking, but listen to the first two, then listen to Dookie. I was like, if you give Kerplunk the production of Dookie,
Yeah.
it's just as good.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It contains the songs. It contains things. You give the first album the production of Dookie, it's just as good. So
Mhm.
it's also the difference of what a production can make.
Mhm.
What I would say is, we'll maybe get to this. You give the first album, less so for Kerplunk, so I more agree with you there, regards to it could have been another Dookie, but the first album would have been closer to what we're talking about in Insomniac, in that it's less concerned with like the When I Come Around, Longview kind of songs. It's more direct. You know what I mean? So yeah, it could have been very, very strong.
Yep.
They came out the box very, very capable. Green Day came out the box clearly a step ahead of a lot of their peers, and then they continued to improve, and then somebody said, these guys are really ready to do something big, and they were absolutely right. Like Reprise were absolutely right, and it paid off, paid dividends for them. Fair play to them. They spotted the talent, and they set in motion this huge thing. Green Day went on to win the Grammy for Best Alternative Album for this. They did Woodstock in '94. I don't know if you remember.
Famously.
Yeah, so Nine
Yes.
Inch Nails and Green Day both had like a fame-making moment during the mud fights at Woodstock in 1994. Really iconic for the 90s, that festival and those live shows. 1995, they released Insomniac. Now, as we said, it kind of hinted at this. It's darker, it's more aggressive in tone. I mean, that is relative because it's not aggressive in tone if you listen to loads of other music. But compared to what they'd just done, it was. They were dealing with a lot of burnout. They were dealing with a sudden fame. Again, Insomniac chart peak number 2, so exactly the same as Dookie. Sales, I think to this day, it's like I said, I think it's about 5.8 million. Couple of big singles, Geek Stink Breath, which came out prior to the album. Brainstew and Jaded as well. I've got the singles of those on CD.
Which are amongst our best songs, you know.
Some of I still very popular with the fans and the live
Brainstew is
shows.
probably my favourite Green Day song.
Praised for aggression, bit of speed. I think it was seen as being a bit, I mean, it's funny now, anti-commercial, if you will, but it isn't as concerned with having really big singles. Although I think one of the things about Green Day is I don't necessarily think they were concerned about having big singles because they didn't know they were going to be big singles. As Kerplunk shows, this is just the music they wrote.
Well,
You know what I mean? I don't think they were gravitating. I think, no, to be clear, once they were famous, they became much more concerned about writing big singles. But in those early years, they were writing what they wrote. And there was no reason in the world for that band to think they were going to suddenly explode into being the Green Day that we now all take for granted.
I think somebody's thinking of that on Insomniac because the songs that are singles have got vastly different vocal production than all the other songs on the record.
Yeah, but my point is that they were already Green Day.
Yeah, I know, but I
That
think
we think of.
somebody somewhere was going, this song's a single and this song is not a single, you know, in the mixing
they
process.
So I remember there used to be a show, it was called Hotel Babylon.
Oh, I remember it well.
Danny Bear.
Danny Bear.
So around when Insomniac came out, they were on it and they did Brainstew. And they did
Jaded.
and they did Walking Contradiction.
So
That was the songs they did live.
they were singles,
Which was actually a single, yeah.
That was the
It's a great song,
That was
isn't
the two singles they played on that show. That's what I had a video that I used to tape for that stuff. So
Yeah, so
it's in the loft in the attic somewhere of them playing Hotel
That show
Babylon.
was a bit saucy. Kinda
It was.
liked
It
A
had-
bit like the word.
They had who else did that?
Get the odd nip slip in there.
Sepultura were
As
on
a
it.
kid, you were all about the nip slips in there.
Sepultura were on it one year. The Wild Hearts were on it.
Yeah.
They did Sick of Drugs. And
Well,
even
that-
like I
that
suppose
was-
if you look at it in UK '94, your Wild Hearts and your Almighties and
Yeah,
Tell
Dead
me.
Dogs and
that to be fair to it as well, that era of TV programming was pretty raw, but in a really exciting way because you had Faith No More and L7 on the Word at the same time as you had those guys. You had PJ Harvey and Placebo just shortly after appearing on the White Room. So you had a lot of like really interesting programming. People were still willing to take chances on live music. Now, as we say, like we'll come back to Insomniac, but initially Divisive became a cult favourite. That's why we're talking about it. They followed that in 1997, which was 2 years later. Bearing in mind, there was only 15 months between Dookie and Insomniac. I think things did start to take a toll because they were doing massive tours and now officially super famous. Nimrod, 1997. Chart peak was only number 10, which is interesting. Sales, I believe, are now about 5.3 million. Couple of really big singles in this. I mean, Hitchin' a Ride was the first one they brought out and it wasn't exactly massive, but Good Riddance, Time of Your Life has become one of the iconic Green Day songs.
yeah.
And we're kind of talking as well about when they do a ballad, like a Christie Road type ballad, or, you know, some of the ones like Boulevard of Broken Dreams and stuff. Time of Your Life, I think, is objectively a brilliant bit of writing. It's been played to death, but it's a brilliant bit of writing. And it did them absolutely, it did wonders for them on this record because they were struggling to maintain their momentum a wee bit. And instead of just bringing out another high-speed banger, they had this hit that was completely different and diversified their portfolio. Suddenly it was like, oh, Green Day don't need to always be high-octane, What's My Age Again type Blink-182. They can actually do something that's completely different as well.
The process behind Nimrod is actually really interesting because they said they wanted to create just individual songs which were like a world in themselves, which is why it's quite a disparate kind of record that goes through various different genres, I guess. There's a couple of songs which are close to hardcore punk in there. There's, you know, there is...
Yeah, Platypus, I Love You. And,
It's Good Riddance, you know what I mean? Nice Guys Finish
Take
Last.
Back as well, I think.
Yeah,
It's,
you know, Hitchin' a Ride is kind of ska, it's kind of rockabilly, you know. It's
King
pretty,
for a Day is very ska, yeah.
it's interesting. And you were talking about this came out in 97. It's also when Pinhead Gunpowder's first album came out, Goodbye Ellison Avenue as well.
Side
It was
project.
97,
Who was
yeah.
in that side project?
Jason White, who plays who's the second guitar player
Uh-huh.
in Green Day Live, Billy Joe Armstrong, and I can't remember the other two guys. One of the guys was Green Day's manager, and I think the other guy was a tech for Green Day.
Interesting.
They're still banned. They released the album in 2024.
Yeah, they're still
2024. But that first Pinhead Gunpowder record is so good, man.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Life
really
During
good.
Life During Wartime is one of the best songs Billy Joe
Yeah.
Armstrong's ever had a part of writing.
Yes.
It's probably one of the best pop punk songs ever written.
They were on like was it Honest Dons. Honest Dons would be that's. I'm sure I've got them on a compilation. And then you've got. I was thinking of a band as well, like the Riverdales.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of come in. I think the 27. So that's the Riverdales tattoo that he's got on his
Oh,
forearm.
really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I may be wrong, but I think that's what it is.
So, I
recommend checking that out.
actually think that the disparate nature of that album's a little bit overstated, because when you listen to Dookie, that is an extremely disparate album as well. It just works because the songs are so strong. And most of the best records of that era were actually pretty varied. They took you on a journey, and I think perhaps we'd gotten out of that habit already, hence why Nimrod seems a little bit erratic. Going back to it, it doesn't seem overly erratic.
I wouldn't say it's erratic either, but it definitely tries to go in different directions, which is what makes it really interesting.
But I do think that they still had, and I wasn't sure I was going to think this when I went back to it, because I have to admit, Nimrod, albeit I played it a lot at the time, I was 16 years old, like, I know. I didn't think it would have aged as well as it had, but see, going back to it, it's still like, there are objectively very, very good songs.
Yeah.
Yes, it
I would
sounds
say so, yeah.
it's pretty childish, it's pretty whatever, but it is what it is. It's very, very well written in a way that I don't think they've recaptured since. Just spoiler alert.
I think,
but it hangs together purely on quality in a way that Dookie did, because you could say, oh, it's a bit all over the shop in terms of, but it doesn't matter because the songs are so strong, and they still had something really, really strong running through them. And the fact that it also had this really big single for them gave it that little extra push that stopped it I think it stopped the band overall sliding off people's radar. You know, if it hadn't been for Good Riddance, I think Nimrod would be an album that you'd be like, oh, by the way, they released other good albums, but they slipped off the radar. Good Riddance kept them on that radar and probably enabled them to just keep their heads above water enough that they got this second bump that we'll talk about shortly. Anyway, it's reasonably well received. It was reasonably well received at the time. I mean, Metacritic, I think it's about 72%, Pitchfork's about 7.2, so it's in about a respectable level. You know, it's not one of those albums that's seen as being a dip.
I mean, I think this album's definitely, it's obviously in top 5. For the most part, it's going to be like in the top 3 for most folk, I think. The other one, apart from Dookie, is maybe American Idiot. I would probably put this one in there as well.
I wouldn't put this top 3, but I would put it probably 4th. Yeah,
I would say it's in that top 5 kind of. So that's the first time I saw them, when they were touring Nimrod.
Okay.
They played Glasgow twice in the space of a year.
Wow. Okay.
The Barras.
Wow.
January, because I had to check.
Both times?
Yeah, they played the Barras in the January, and then they came back, because I was looking through my tickets. And they came back near the end of the year, like October, November.
Wow.
They were really, like, both times they were really, really good.
Yeah, they must have been great.
From what I can remember, I remember them doing King for a Day, and they're all coming out wearing dresses. I think they did good runs. I think one of the set lists is on Setlist FM, and it's a really good set list. But I've never seen them again since then.
That's the last time you've seen them?
That's the last time I've seen them.
Wow, okay.
Part of me doesn't want to see them again. I saw at the Barras, and I don't think it'll be as good as I want it to be. I know some folk went to see them that last time they played
Dookie and American Idiot.
and they were great. Like, I've watched videos, they're still great, but it's not. Yeah,
it's a different thing now.
It's a different thing for me. Yeah,
it's a different kind of product.
I bought a terrible brown long sleeve T-shirt, and Nimrod brown and yellow, and it had
Who
the
doesn't
cover.
love a brown T-shirt?
Who doesn't love a
brown and yellow?
And it wasn't even like dark brown. It was, it was kind of Carhartt jobby brown,
unwearable, like that cushion.
It was like, yes, it's like Sir Stomach brown. You know what I mean? And it had the cover
like
in the front.
Donald Trump in the press conference.
Yeah. It was that, and then it had the dates in the back, and it was brown with yellow Nimrod written on it.
Yeah.
That was my one Green Day. But a few bands all toured around. I saw around that time. I saw Offspring, Rancid. I think a Bad Religion around that kind of time as well.
See, one thing that just occurred to me as well that we should probably make a nod to. Some of the biggest pop punk albums of that era all had a novelty song in them, right? So you could say that King for a Day is the novelty song in this. Do you remember Dominated Love Slave from Kerplunk? Right, and you had
that's off Dominated Love Slaves off Dookie.
No, it's
I Was Alone.
I Was
Alone.
Yeah,
and that, what I mean is, like, and Offspring did this as well. Remember, they had like Don't Pick It Up and tracks like that, and the bands tended to these pop punk bands tended to sort of like cement their light-hearted credentials by in the midst of otherwise quite earnest. Because Gone Away, for example, is quite a serious, po-faced song on Smash, but they would offset it with something
it's
quite
on X-Nay, incidentally.
Is Gone Away? No, Gone Away's on Smash.
It's not, it's on the X-Nay.
Don't Pick It Up is on X-Nay.
Gone Away is on the X-Nay.
Yeah, I don't think that's on Smash either. Self-Esteem is on Smash, and gotta keep it separated.
Am I getting them muddled up?
Yeah.
That's the only that's
agree
the
to
only
disagree.
Offspring album. Alan.
Jason, pull that up. Right, but
Donald, get
the
it
point
on.
is, novelty songs were a big thing, and that was also the problem with the novelty songs was it did put a lot of people off.
Blink-182 a whole novelty band, mate.
Yeah,
so.
I know. Well, no, but that's the thing, right? So then when we talk about what did pop punk become, they kind of picked up on the novelty songs, like what's that? Give it to me, baby.
Pretty Fly for a White
Pretty
Guy.
Fly for a White Guy. The novelty songs started to become the hits rather than the actual songs from the albums, and so pop punk started to become goofy. This is part of where that came from. Like there were songs on these albums that became very beloved, and slowly they outgrew the actual songwriting on the albums, and the novelty songs became the main focus of the albums. And I think like some of what Blink-182 did, and yeah, certainly where Offspring steered their career, they steered it into the novelty.
Well, the Offspring have one novelty song in every record they've done since
Which is
Smash.
often what they're best known for, though.
Yeah, I mean, but I would argue against the idea that pop punk became a novelty thing, because there's a lot of bands that are definitely not.
Look, like for us,
but-
for I say for us, I'm not a huge pop punk fan, right? You're far more into it, and I'd say probably you are as well,
Yes.
Rick. But for people on the inside, it's not. But I'm saying in terms of public perception, if you say Offspring and you're saying "Give it to me," they'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's what." They won't say because they don't know Gone Away. They don't.
Aye, but like,
Let's not labour this point too much. I'm just trying to say that.
Let's fucking dig in.
Yeah.
But
I'm ready to go.
to the mat.
he's stretching up,
I'm
man.
I think what we need to decide, like this is probably a terrible genre thing. It depends what your definition of pop punk is.
We are going to get to that debate.
And what
Trust me.
novelty is as
Trust
well.
me.
What novelty is, but
But,
I think the novelty thing maybe comes from the Descendents, because the Descendents, even way back, will have like, you know, here's a good song, and then
Aye.
here's a song about being hungry. Here's a song.
fart song.
Here's a fart song.
Mhm.
Yeah.
See, and then you kind of get past the fart song,
Absolutely.
but like, you know, because I listened to the one sitting, you're like,
Yeah.
they've got a fart song. To you, it's the fart song, but Descendants to me are Cool to Be You.
Yeah.
Like some of the best, some of the greatest pop.
And-
Silly Girl is probably one of
But
the
look,
greatest
look,
pop songs
I'm-
written.
I get that, but what I'm trying to do with you guys, excuse my condescending tone, is report for the outside world here and say that
Outside bad, inside good.
and
Gabba Gabba, we accept you, one of us, one of us.
and all I mean is that the condescending attitude and the sense that pop punk was inane, a fair proportion of that came from the prominence that was afforded to these goofy tracks, right? And they are. Hey, hang on, look, mate. Don't shoot the messenger, right? I'm just saying that these goofy tracks are what started to really alienate people, because a lot of Green Day's work was quite sincere. Like Bad Religion didn't do the goofy tracks, and Bad Religion are seen as being quite a kind of pole-faced, but effectively quite similar, almost pop punk band at times. No, but the thing is, structurally, their music is very similar to a lot of Green Day stuff and to a lot of Offspring stuff. It
I'd
just
probably
doesn't
agree with that,
have
to be honest, yeah.
it just doesn't have that lightheartedness that came to sort of symbolise the genre. Look at like Sum 41, bands like that, and all the videos started to become really
but
fucking dumb.
They don't have novelty songs though. They have maybe novelty videos, which most bands have anyway. But you think about the
but the
contemporaries.
product became novelty. Like
I don't know if I think like the bands that we use. Sum 41's a fucking a great example. I'm so glad you brought it up, because they're not like, they just don't have that. They have that kind of jokey feel about them, but they're musically and thematically not. Fucking don't pick it up. Newfound Glory would be another huge band in the same era who definitely don't have that. They're very much more sincere and all about my fucking broken heart and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Which is
the
tiresome
entire
itself.
model of what became commercially successful, just the Overton window shifted somewhat towards this slightly inane, slightly stupid kind of like aspect of the genre. Now, I'm not saying Sum 41 are all like that at all. I'm just saying that the songs that rose to prominence, like that video with the fucking skateboarding and the pool and stuff like all that kind of stuff, that is the dumber side, and that is what a lot of people started to associate with pop punk. Look, I think we're getting mired down here.
I would say like that's a broader perspective of music as a whole. At that time, the novelty song is the hit. Like, I'm not a fan.
Alien Ant Farm.
Alien, Limp Bizkit, Faith.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But you know, your average. You played it. I'm
that
not.
album,
I'm not good. Like
$3 Bill Y'all is nothing like Faith.
Yeah, somebody who doesn't like heavy music, you're like, oh, it's a bit noisy. Oh, there's Faith. That's the one.
Yeah.
It's the one your mum likes. So you know, your sister or your brother who doesn't really like music's like, I like that one. Or the guy at school that kicks your arse, but he likes, you know, I like Faith. Give my face away battery. You know?
But soon the exception became the rule, because stuff like Nookie and all that kind of stuff became the singles. Like the novelty, the stupidity became what made the songs hooky. Like Adidas by Korn, all that kind of stuff.
Nookie was hooky. Did you mean that?
No.
Nookie is hooky.
Nookie is Dookie, Nookie, hooky. It's just the title of the podcast.
Hooky song.
Right, we're rapidly flying off the rails here.
Yeah,
Let me get
I
back to
disagree
this
with Chris,
timeline.
is what I'm saying. I completely disagree with
I mean,
Chris.
I've spent.
We'll come back
I've
to
known him
this.
since he was 16, so that's a good.
We'll come back
20
to
odd
this.
years of doing that.
What we are talking about now is Warning, though.
Warning,
so,
2000.
yeah.
Another 3 years have passed. Chart peaks at number 4, so an improvement on Nimrod, but still not up at those previous levels. Sales are middling. I mean, that'd be good for us, Mark, but
Oh, it'd be great for
not
us.
Green Day. Major single, and this one's probably Minority.
Yeah, I mean,
And not
waiting.
critical,
Waiting.
weirdly,
Good song.
all right, yeah, Waiting, I suppose, yeah.
Mm.
Critical
was a
reception
single.
was mixed to positive on the release. People like the folk punk direction it. Now, I would say it's less folk punk and more that it's just too polished. I actually think with Warning, he leans way into his Elvis Costello
It really does.
Yeah.
songwriting.
Mm-hmm.
Jam.
That's
Even
what-
bits like listed as funny, like there's bits of like Big Country and that kind of
aye.
element of that kind of thing in it.
So
Yeah.
I mean, it's often now described as underrated. Going back to it, the contrast for this, the contrast between this and Nimrod was stark to me, because Nimrod I went back to and I was like, man, you know, snobbishness aside, that is a very good album. This is not. This is overproduced. It feels like it's trying too hard. It feels thirsty. He's definitely trying to, or Billy Joe, I assume is the lead songwriter, is definitely trying to move the band's sort of reputation towards that slightly more Elvis Costello-y, mature thing. I don't think it works. I think it sounds quite, what's the word? Like it's sanitized. The production on it's very digital sounding, and it doesn't work for me as a record at all.
Yeah.
In retrospect.
I think I wouldn't say it's underrated, right? But I would say it is much maligned, and I don't think it really earns that malignment.
Malignation.
I don't think it
Malignament?
deserves that, right?
I don't think so.
I think folk punk is correct, because they've clearly decided to bring the acoustic guitar to the forefront, probably thinking, well, Good Riddance was huge, maybe we can kind of do a halfway house between both
I
things.
agree, and that's that's them gravitating a little bit. This is the point where Green Day stopped just writing with a lack of self-awareness or unself-consciously. They stopped writing just as Green Day and start writing towards expectation and a need for success and a need for, because you have to sympathize. Like, they've been huge and they are clearly from the sales on the wane here. They've gone from 5.8 to 5.3 to 2 to now we're at 1, and it's like, if you are them, you're like, shit guys, we need another hit. And so they're, to me, in this record, and I bought this record when it came out, I was 19 years old, I was still keen into it, but this was the last time I fucked with this band, you know, until now.
Me too.
I would say,
and the thing, all I'm saying is, I feel you can hear them chasing a level of mainstream success in this, and they're trying something to get it, and it doesn't sound as authentic as I think a lot of their other work does.
I think there's two things I probably want to mention about this, right? So earlier on when I mentioned the Blink-182 thing, so they were on tour, actually quite famously, they were like co-headlining with Blink-182 on tour. And it was very much, they felt, and I think a lot of folk in the press felt, was like the pretenders to the throne have then taken the throne.
Yeah.
Green Day on first, Blink-182 on second, even though it's co-headlining.
Yeah.
Green Day made it their absolute fucking mission to blow fucking Blink-182 at the wall every single night, and that included playing loads of pranks on them backstage, which is why Mark Hoppus thinks Trachea was a dick, right?
Oh, right.
Well,
Okay,
they get on now, but at the time they did not.
Didn't know any of this.
It wasn't really working out for them, basically. But Green Day and Trachea was always saying in the press, like, yeah, we're killing them every night. We're just destroying them, and that's how they became like the stadium live band, right?
For some reason, that reminds me of like a really sort of PG version of the kind of Guns N' Roses Metallica Faith No More tour.
Yeah.
I don't think this was particularly PG either if you read the stories, but it was interesting. But the other point I wanted to make is like, what's most interesting for this record, what's most interesting about this record for me, is like, this actually shows their songwriting skills actually starting to evolve. Like, the band that makes Insomniac is not the band that's capable of making American Idiot, right? They need to have done Nimrod and Warning together in order to make that record, because they just don't become that band otherwise. And I think that Yeah, I mean, American Idiot is their biggest record, right? It's probably their most popular.
It's not their biggest selling record.
I know, but it is their biggest. It's their magnum opus, right? They certainly see it that way. I think the fans fans see it that way.
It's superstar.
Critically, it is. Yeah, it's
superstar,
and it takes them to a level. We'll talk about it in a second.
Yeah, I would say Dookie is stardom. Weirdly, American Idiot, despite having much lower sales, is superstardom.
Yeah, that changes the perception of what Green Day are entirely.
Yeah.
But they don't get to writing songs like that without doing this record.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think that's what makes it. Actually, in retrospect, makes this record more interesting as a result, because they're taking swings in Nimrod, they're taking a swing with this, and they don't really quite land in the same way as Dookie does, but the next record absolutely fucking does.
Nimrod was a full
Like,
3 years earlier than this, and I think they still sound energised. I think they still sound authentically them. I think there's tracks on Nimrod that you could have heard on other albums. With the time they get to Warning, it's very hard to imagine those tracks on their earlier albums. They sound like really something quite considered, something a bit deliberate, and something that's a bit sanitised. And as I say, I don't hate the album. I did get it at the time, and I spun it quite a lot. But what I noticed was after this album, I had absolutely no inclination to get anything
I'd kind of
else.
lost it, but I suppose I would also think, how long had they been a band? What age were they when the time they released Warning?
so 1972 they were
28.
born, right?
Yeah.
So
28.
28, and they've been playing since they were 16, so for 12 years.
Aye.
Maybe they just was like, I don't want to do that anymore. I quite like the acoustic one. Let's just do that because I'm been playing. I don't know. To me, that's I don't see. I just listen to it and I think, and amongst again the docs, a few of us are like, great. Like, wouldn't hear a word against it. And I listened to it again. I was like, Church and Sunday, all that kind of stuff. I was like, it's just so good. I don't see it as chasing anything, and it didn't strike me. There's elements of it, elements of Nimrod that are on it. Nimrod, I think, had too many songs. Could have been shaved down. But I think it contains like Waiting. I don't know why I put it on my phone voice. Waiting. Like, that's one of their best songs.
That's one of their best songs.
One of the, like, the video for it was like, the video for it was good as well, and it was like, yeah, that's just one. I think that's one of their best songs, and like, we're going to American Idiot. I've never listened to it until like 2 weeks ago, or 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Like, I had not heard a Green Day
That's
record.
really off a cliff, because I mean, I absolutely.
I've not heard a Green Day record since listening to Warning.
But to go from being like really quite a big fan and advocate, as we both clearly were, to not even listening to something, there's something in that. There's something that is just you get a total sudden disconnect from an artist, and that what I'm saying is there's something about this album that I didn't realise at the time. So I did play it quite a lot, but I wasn't getting the same sense of like connection and fulfillment from it, even though, as you say, the tracks are in some cases very strong, but the delivery, it feels less genuine. There's something about it, and I just went off a cliff. I just did not give a shit about this band.
I think I've done the people who have done, the people who listened to them at the beginning, people who've done the thing at the beginning and were like, I don't want to listen to them after Dookie because I've sold out. I've hit the Dookie point at Warning, and I'm like, this is not really for me anymore.
Absolutely.
That's an age thing as well, though. Like, because you stop losing that kind of that feeling to music anyway. But like you start finding something which makes you feel happy.
What's interesting is when I found Nimrod, I didn't know Rick. This is the first album when I was listening to Green Day and I knew Rick, and I realised that life is pain and I no longer wanted to listen to upbeat music, and he started fucking giving me like, all this
abuse,
like
black metal,
really like
no,
throwing,
I didn't.
try to throw
I probably didn't listen. Like,
no, you didn't give me that.
I wasn't really. I can't. I'm not going to lie and pretend I was into all that stuff at the time and I was cool and hip. I'm trying to think. So what year would that be?
Well, and you were into
2000, 24, 25. So I'd be listening to like a mix of like maybe hardcore stuff, like stuff that's something weirdly come around, like Stamping Ground and
Stamping Ground.
Like hardcore bands, like, why are they famous again? Why are they like that kind of stuff? Biohazard, Helmet.
Oof, yes.
Still metal kind of like still like Metallica and Iron Maiden, but like Dropkick Murphys, the punk kind of side, because I'd been around that kind of time. Then I'd probably joined Turtlehead not long after that. Like then you're getting like I'd probably still be Bad Brains. I'd be listening to Bad Brains and Black Flag. Dead Kennedys I'd be listening to.
Well, this is the point where I went down the Discord route. So this is the point where I became very cool and very sort of like, I'm too grown up for that stuff. And it kind of...
There's no grown out of that.
And
I'd like to point out, dear listeners, that Chris is the same.
And also got a wee bit into the kind of Hydra Head school of stuff and that kind of thing. So there was definitely you're right, there's a kind of coming of age thing there. Now, band, that side project Pinhead Gunpowder, they kind of did quite a lot for 2002. They were doing
A bunch of EPs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And this is the point where they started writing material that would evolve into a rock opera, which is quite a statement for
Yeah.
a band, to any band,
Yeah.
let alone a punk rock band
Yeah.
to consider. But they write what will become a rock opera
Well,
in the form of American Idiot.
They write a record called Cigarettes and Valentines, or most of a record called Cigarettes and Valentines,
Mhm.
and it gets stolen out of the studio. The tapes get stolen, or
Mhm.
the hard drive, I guess it would have been back then. And apparently towards the end of that session, they'd written 3 other songs. And then once it was stolen, Rob Carvalho, producer, obviously, was like, could you honestly say those songs were the best songs you could write? And they were like, well, we've got these 3 other songs and we actually like this direction more. Let's not even bother trying to recapture what we'd recorded with these demos
Mhm.
for this record. We're going to go and try something completely different. So they basically wasted like a year like writing an album, and then it just vanished essentially.
Wonder where it ended up.
They got it back.
Did they?
Yeah, so like 8 of the tracks from it have since been released in various forms. And
Did
different
Martin
records and
Shkreli
that.
have it?
No, I don't know how they got it back. They've never said, but I think one of them, 2 of them are definitely B-sides from American Idiot.
Alright.
2 of them are.
Hmm.
Governator's one of them, and I can't remember what the other one is. A couple of them actually made it onto the triple album,
Mhm.
and there's one which was released as a live. The song "Cigarettes and Valentines" was released as a live version, like in between, like in the late 2000s, early 2010. Sorry. So yeah, it's been trickling out. But
That's mad. That
the feeling
an
is
album
that-
getting stolen.
yeah, the feeling between fans is like they've actually just been cannibalising it for various songs over the years.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So it's probably really difficult now. If you go on Reddit, there's loads of folk that say, I think this song was on it, I think that
Yeah.
song was on it, here's my playlist, and here's all the songs you can go hear it. I tend to think that it probably is a case of like we've revisited all these demos, realised only a few of them are actually quite good,
Mhm.
and we've just used those, and then we've cannibalised the other ones and made other songs out
I
of
think
them.
it's really funny, given how narrow the palette of Green Day is, with exceptions, but given how narrow the palette is for most of their songs, and they're really like a variation on like a 3 or 4 chord theme, you could pretty much just sort of like shuffle and get a different song
Yeah.
each time.
Mhm.
You know, it's kind of like that algorithmically. You know, write a Green Day song for me is one of the easiest tasks that an AI
Aye.
could have been
Yeah.
presented with early on.
Give it a couple of years when that's when the end of the end will come out, and it'll be a record store day special.
Yeah, and it'll be AI.
It's record source, the lost album. We'll be like, oh, I've already heard all these.
Yeah, well,
Um,
that's probably what it's going to be be
Yeah.
honest. Like
It'll
when
be-
when it does come out, because everybody thought we did the 20th anniversary of American Idiot in 2024. Loads of fans on Reddit were like, they're going to release, the next record, the deluxe version, is going to be Cigarettes and Valentines, and it wasn't. So they've
that-
obviously used it or used most of the good
They've-
stuff. You
They've
know?
got that in their mooted sequel to Insomniac that,
Yeah.
to release as well. Right, we're on the cusp of American Idiot, and I think that's a good point to break.
Sure, let's
We've
do
got
that.
the latter era of Green Day and then Insomniac to digest, and we'll come back in part 2.
Right, okay.
Bye.
Bye.